A very good morning to you on the second day of CPAC. Welcome to my podcast, The Bold Truth About Hungary. And we have the honor for another distinguished guest and speaker of today, Mr. Janez Janša, former Prime Minister of Slovenia. A long time, let's put it that way, ideological partner and ally of Prime Minister Orbán. And very definitely, I would like to start with a remark made by Mr. Orbán yesterday in the speech about Mr. Janša, and that is, the quieter he speaks, the more important the stuff he's saying is. And I believe if anyone listened to his contribution this morning, which was a lot more philosophical, a lot more deeper than most of the contributions so far, he's going to have the understanding why the Prime Minister meant that. Why did you choose this philosophical approach to the woke problem, the cancel culture issue we are talking about?
First of all, good morning, and thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure. I've been listening very carefully what other speakers and tried to tell us yesterday, and I realized that many of them they completely understand what's going on, but also many of them they more or less walk on the surface. So they see the consequences, but not the roots and the reasons. This is why I thought that it's good to put a light also at the beginnings, what was the real source of this wokeness, gender theory, and all other attempts to destroy the foundations of Western civilization. I think that not all, but vast majority of them we can find in the philosophy of the cultural Marxism.
Very well. We've been discussing this, that I'm a historian by profession, and I was teaching the history of historiography and historical philosophy, and we all know that, yes, this is probably the biggest menace for the past over 150 years by now, actually, what we have inherited from the Western world, and that is Marxism and cultural Marxism. And it all well resonated what you suggested today with what the Prime Minister put out. He's been very effective describing symbolically, actually, how we approach liberal, progressive elements. And yesterday's comparison of the liberal, progressive worldview to a virus, I believe, was going deep enough. But you even dug deeper when you called out the 10 commandments as the most fundamental elements of our value system, the Western value system, and how cultural Marxism is penetrating it.
Exactly. I think that what leftist philosopher, Marxist philosopher Antonio Gramsci said more than 100 years ago is clearly a fundamental attack on the 10 Commandments, because he realizes that on the western part of the globe, especially in Europe, there is no chances to introduce Leninist type of revolution. So he went, deeper, and he said, okay, we know what are these foundations, so we have to discredit them, and people will start then to think that this is something bad. They will not defend. So he traveled across.
As you put it,
he traveled across the Russia after the revolution. He saw that they need tremendous quantity of violence, to put the people into the communist power. And we said this will not work in Italy. First, we have to do something, and to do this, we have to control the institutions which are producing the conscious. So, and this is everything what's going on.
And as you put it, actually, I was trying to pay very detailed attention. Actually, the method was also laid out by you, and that is indeed occupying institutions, but most importantly, first discredit the Ten Amendments,
Then liquidate.
and then liquidate. It resonates well, actually. What we are still under the remnants of the impression that Pope Francis has left with us, actually, during his visit the last weekend, because he was coming into this field philosophically, targeting actually those discrediting and then annihilating attempts on behalf of philosophies, including this Marxist philosophy, actually, by trying to push for gender and so on. So, do you believe it is because, in fact, what you were suggesting, and that is the very fundamentals of Western civilization come together with all this Christian values, actually, we are trying to stick to?
Actually, it's true, and I was very glad, I can say, surprised, when Pope Francis, during his visit here in Hungary, spoke so directly about this struggle. We haven't been used for such words.
There must be some reasons for it, actually, but it was
coming from Latin America. Catholic Church there is slightly different and so on.
Where he very obviously, probably, I'm sorry disrupting you, but he had a chance to meet the disruption of Marxism itself.
Yeah.
Cultural or socialist Marxism as it happened in South America.
It's true. So I think that this visit was historical. It's historical because this struggle against the culture of death is very difficult to be won without the biggest civil society defending those values, and this is Catholic Church.
Coming back to your lines, another element what is really striking, and we all know actually from everyday practice, actually it is happening all the time, that cultural Marxism, the so-called, they call it civil society, but in fact the NGOs, so this created civil society, is always referring to democracy, and that is that they are representing the people. But of course, they have never been measured by any democratic election.
They were never elected, so they have no legitimacy. This is artificially created false legitimacy, which is the essence of the Marxism. So they want to replace all classical structures of democracy, representative democracy, everything with the rule of all, which is not possible. We all know there has to be some methods, and whenever they try to realize this in practice, this was dictatorship. It's obvious, and it's what's very difficult to understand is that after all these failed attempts, to create this socialist heaven on earth, people, especially on the West, without personal experiences as we have with the communist regime, still believe in this utopia. So it's exactly on this matter we see how successful was this march to institutions by the methods of cultural Marxism. How they successfully took over not only printed press and cultural institutions of
that's right.
100 years ago, but all modern technological means to come to the people.
As you very rightly pointed out, I'm as a government spokesman, I'm facing this on a daily level.
You're
they
fighting
have basically
fake news all day.
They have basically hijacked language. It's the word. And that's what we pointed out.
This is the beginning.
That we have to take back word, we have to regain language to be able to use it properly, talking about reality on the ground and talking about democracy, representation, and all other elements actually of our existing world around us.
Yeah, well, I was very glad when I heard yesterday when I have been listening to the speech of Georgian Prime Minister, Mr. Irakli, who said the same. So who said that they are using false language, to present those ideas, and this language is stolen. So it's not the word is stolen. The same beginning, is destroyed. So we have to retake the work. So.
As probably the last final question, how do you see the upcoming Slovenian elements of the European elections? Very obviously, is going to be a test and challenge for many of us. We have to work very hard, actually, to be able to explain what is happening, say, here in CPAC, the discussions, and what happens around the globe, if it's about the culture of Marxism and these very bad developments actually coming from this new culture, which is trying to cancel everything that is considered outdated.
Well, for European elections, I think that my party won all European elections with the exception of the first. We intend to do the same, but the participation on European elections in Slovenia is very low, around 30%. People are not very interested, and also the deep state, which is very powerful in Slovenia, is more concentrated on national elections. So they don't put all eggs in the basket during the European elections, but they do everything to control all instruments which are crucial for national elections. And we are still in Slovenia. We are still fighting not only political parties on the surface. We are fighting deep state, where we still have the same people which controlled the country during the communist regime. I know.
Mr. Janez Janša, former Prime Minister of Slovenia, thank you. I much appreciate your time, and I wish you many successful and future-building discussions here at CPAC, but also in Hungary with your other posts.
Thank you. Keep fighting.
Thank you.
Thanks.